week's live workshop on academic writing. Have you had any formal training on academic writing? Because if you haven't, this session is going to be invaluable for you. We're going to cover the training that I wish I would have had as a graduate student, because perhaps like many of you, I was never taught anything in writing. I was just expected to figure it out for myself. And really, that's a terrible way to proceed. And I want to give you an analogy of playing tennis. So when I grew up, there were some tennis courts near the house where I lived. Got a tennis racket and just hit balls around with friends, and I thought it was pretty decent until I kind of got to school and other students just mopped the floor with me because they had learned how to play tennis properly. And many of you I talked to in the group, in the community, by the way, if you haven't joined our Facebook group already, do, because you're going to find lots of valuable training, including this on writing. But what had happened is those students had actual tennis training, and I didn't really know what I didn't know. And if I had never learned how to play tennis properly, so the mechanics were all wrong, the fundamentals were not in place, and I was never able to improve. And it's only when I got the basics right that it kind of unleashed a torrent of productivity. And fast forward from grad student to where I am now, I've published over 400 papers in peer-reviewed journals. I've been a tenured faculty member at Oxford University. Now I'm at University of Bocconi in Milan. And I created this support group, Fast Track, specifically to help you to tackle some of the most common challenges that I see so many researchers fall into. I really want to, and I'm truly committed to trying to help you get on the fast track. So what I'm going to do today, you're going to get immediate academic writing training that you can implement today in your writing. I'm going to teach you our pier system, which is kind of those tennis bread and butter mechanics. If you want to play good tennis, you have to learn how to hit a serve. You have to learn how to hit a forehand. The pier system is that bread and butter system for writing. You need to know it. You need to master it. I'm going to give you some simple tests of your writing that you can apply to your writing and to test if your writing is on point and following this pier system. That's going to help you feel confident and smooth in your writing, applying this simple test. We're going to actually look at research papers where I'm going to show you the pier writing system in practice. And to continue, I'm going to look at an example helpfully shared with me by a student I've been working with this week that did not follow the pier system. And we're going to look together so that you can feel confident in seeing how could you take a piece of writing and start applying elements of the pier system to make it clearer and more coherent. And if you get this right, you're going to find your writing is simple and easy. And this is especially important if you're not a native English speaker. We've got a lot of students from developing countries, really love that, committed to open access. And so if that's you especially need to do even more to get this right. One thing while I'm here, those of you who are tuning in along for this peer system session, I'm going to go into Google Scholar later and pick out some research articles that we can look to see the peer writing system in practice. So if there are any topics you would like to see, post that in the comments here in the chat, and we'll look at some example papers that are directly relevant to you. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let me take this caption off. And I want to introduce to you what this peer system is all about, why it's so important, and how you can use it in your academic writing. And really, the peer system is going to give us and tell you the anatomy of a good paragraph, which is kind of the nuts and bolts and components of your writing. So let me move this out of the way and make sure I'm still on the microphone here without the working keyboard. Good. Hope you can all see the screen. If not, yell at me. So, peer. This is really going to give you the anatomy of a paragraph. And sometimes it's described as a hamburger model. And this would be trying to draw a hamburger bun, two parts of a bun. And inside the bun, you have all sorts of good stuff. You might have some meat, unless you're vegan. So this is my attempt at drawing meat. You might have a piece of cheese on there, and maybe some tomatoes and other stuff. So, okay. There's obviously some artistic creativity going on here, but you get the idea of a hamburger. And this is each element of your paragraph is what we're going to describe by the peer system. And so the P in peer is for a point, and that's going to be the big point that you want to make with your paragraph. I'm going to come back to that. Your E is going to be for basically evidence or examples. And the next E is going to be for explanation. And your R, some people like to have an L here, but I like an R, is going to be to repeat or a linking sentence to your next paragraph. And this really is setting out the anatomy of a paragraph. And so I think of it like a hamburger, because your paragraph is like this bite-sized burger. And at the top, the first thing you got to do in this burger is you got to make your point. And then all your meat and good stuff, tasty stuff inside the burger is in there. That's kind of your evidence and your explanation backing up that point. And then at the end here of your bun, you got this repeating or linking section that's going on to your next paragraph, or kind of your next hamburger that's going to be down here. And so how does this work? So there are a few components to unpack here that are going to be relevant for you. So packed into this pier system, there's actually a lot going on. So point. There's only one point. Each paragraph needs to make one point. We're not dealing with 3 hamburgers in a paragraph, which is something I see very, very commonly happen. Each paragraph, 1 point. And that point is the first thing that your paragraph needs to point out. It's sometimes also another way this is sometimes called this 1 point, called the 1 point rule associated with pier, is sometimes called a topic sentence. Really important to get this right. So that's kind of this top end of your bun here. And then you're going to think of yourself stuffing this burger to justify this point, to back up all this point. That's where all this meat or good stuff is going to turn rainbow now. All this good stuff in here, you're going to then stuff into your paragraph but it needs to be linked to explaining or justifying that main point of that paragraph, and only that one point. And then your repeating or linking is really going to help you bridge. It's kind of, and I'll show you some examples of this to reinforce that point and to help take your reader to kind of drive into the next point in your argument, in your structure, into the next point that you're going to make. So I want to take some examples of literature to show you this model in practice and highlight in paragraphs, in scientific papers, how this looks. And if you guys have any questions about this, let me know. It's really profound when you get it. It will change your writing tremendously, but it's going to take some time to master. It's not like you're going to start using pier and then suddenly overnight you're going to be Roger Federer. You're going to need to start getting these mechanics in place. And the first way to start that is to be aware of them. And that awareness is really the key to improving your learning. So if you don't have any suggestions for a topic area that you'd like us to look into, I'm just going to go grab something that comes out. Here we go. Let me make sure I can actually get access to the article. Well, let's see. Here's one that's suggested to me. Let's see if I can get access to it, to the PDF. And then we can zoom in on the PDF. Great. Okay. There's the first paper that popped up for me. And let's look at it in practice. Okay, I'd like to get a typeset paper because this is a pre-proof. Let me go get a typeset paper because it's going to be a little bit easier to see. So let's just do something on unemployment and health. Something simple like this. Let's do something relatively recent and try to get a good paper. So nope, that's not going to be the paper we want. Here's a systematic review. A lot of you are doing systematic reviews, so this could be pretty nice. There we go. So this looks pretty good. Okay. And there actually, one interesting thing you're going to find is that sometimes papers don't fully follow the pier system. That's okay. But you want to learn the basics before you start to deviate from them. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at the papers and see how these are packed in. And actually, this is an example. I'm kind of glad I picked this because this isn't really that well written in the introduction. It's very hard to follow because it doesn't have a topic sentence. So this is an example of, and you're going to find this in some papers you look at. The screen is blurry. Let me try to zoom in here. You're going to find this in some papers that are really hard to follow, and you'll find as you read, some papers are easy to read, some are hard to read, and that depends what they've done. If you look at this here, this is not really an easy paragraph to follow because they just say that this topic sentence is basically telling us the point, that P in the pier, is that this paragraph is going to be about this study. And the paragraph does deliver on that study. And the same thing here. This paragraph said, the point here says, I'm going to tell you in this paragraph about this study. And that they examine the effects of unemployment and well-being across 104 empirical studies. And so what's the rest going to do? It's going to be evidence and explanation to justify that point. And you can see at the end on the study, they're linking or repeating sentence here. I hope we can all see it now. I'm going to try to zoom in even more so you can see it. So point here is telling us about the study. Evidence, explanation here, meat of that, telling us, well, okay, what did they do when they evaluated in this case, the effect of unemployment on well-being? And then this repeating or linking sentence, which is helping drive the reader. In this part, we're in the introduction. They're trying to drive us to the gap. What is the big gap? And that's what this paragraph is structured as. For example, here, they've got the same structure. That this is the topic sentence. It's going to tell us about this study. And you can do this with all the paragraphs. So here, for example, let's look at another paragraph. I'm going to come here to the right side. This is now going to tell us this topic sentence. What is this topic sentence promising us this paragraph is going to do? This is going to tell us this key distinction in the literature between these two kinds of effects of unemployment. And what's it then going to do? Well, it's going to go through and explain them. So an exposure effect here. And it's going to give an example of what that is, and it's explaining it and what the issues are. And then get to a linking part that's going to get right into what their study is trying to do by talking about the gaps. So all paragraphs are really going to follow the same kind of basic structure. And you'll find in good writing that you can really grasp quickly and understand easily. The peer system is in place and is very, very clear. Let me pull out a couple other examples. And again, if there's a type of topic that you would like to see that you would find particularly helpful, I'm really happy to pull something up there. Let me go to the British Medical Journal and see if I can pull up something from their recent research. Let's go to a research paper. And here we go. This looks pretty cool. Racial bias and reproducibility and pulse oximetry. Okay. We go, okay, I like this. This is a little bit easier to see. So this is nice. Okay. So let's do a paragraph here. So really this topic sentence is this. And this is the point that there's this growing interest and enthusiasm in technology, but there's many gaps in the application of existing data. And you see, that's the point. This is a topic sentence. It can be topic sentences. This could be one sentence. I like that they've split it up into two. It's easier to follow. But this is the point of the paragraph. This is the whole point. And what's going to happen next? They're going to explain. They're going to they're giving evidence and they're explaining. And now you see this thus. They're coming here and they're kind of synthesizing this, repeating it, and getting to helping drive right next to what is the next kind of hamburger in the model, the next paragraph that you're going to follow up with, which is this gap. So in this paragraph of the introduction, there again, we're just looking at an introduction as an example. They're trying to roll out the red carpet for the next paragraph, which is to say, right, there are these gaps here, and synthesize what's needed, and now we're going to do what's needed. So I hope you're starting to see this in practice. That's the P and the R elements of the peer model. I find the meat of the hamburger is often the easiest. These points of the evidence and examples, because you have that. You have the corroborating evidence. Often I find students are not struggling so much to find what to stuff the hamburger with. The errors and the common challenges they're running into is trying to put several hamburgers together into one, and it's kind of like a monstrous Big Mac. It's not tasty. You don't want it, and it's very hard to follow. So I do think for good writing, let's look at another sentence. I mean, this will go straight throughout the paragraph. Every paragraph is going to follow the system. This study had several limitations. Very simple topic sentence, right? What is that topic sentence promising us? That this paragraph is going to, I'm going to try to zoom in again. I hope you can see it. There we go. Right? What is this paragraph promising? This paragraph is promising that it's going to deliver evidence and examples of the study's limitations. So jump straight in. So there's a topic sentence, the point in the pier model. Here we go. This is going to give us a limitation and explain a bit about that limitation. And here they're repeating how they dealt with that limitation. That's the R point, or the linking. So they're saying, point, we had several limitations. Here's an example, but we're going to now explain a bit about that, and we're going to link. And in that link, we're saying, well, there was no other way we could have dealt with that, or that it's unlikely that there was this alternative possibility. And they're continuing with the theme here of saying, for example, here, an additional limitation was this. So this paragraph is going to tell us about this additional limitation. Right, they had a military, an additional limitations. They all had a military service history. And then now this gets a little quirky. I think I'm missing something in the logic, because you can see here the way they've set up this paragraph. This does not follow at all. Maybe that's because there's something missing in the way they've explained it. Maybe that's explained earlier in the article and you understand it by this point, but this is a little quirky. It may be because the oximeters were in the military and they were not commercially purchased, so they're trying to say that they don't know about the oximetry data that they're getting. I think that's what's going on. There's a little lack of clarity here, but you can see how the structure is still kind of in place. So they don't have, it looks like, commercially available oximeters that would have given them the evidence they need. So they've got a topic sentence about the limitation. They're explaining the limitation. They're giving evidence about it, and they're linking or repeating or restating based on this evidence what that means in light of the topic sentence. Okay. So do you guys want to go through more examples? I hope you're starting to see this come into effect. I want to go through some examples from actual students of their writing, where lack of clarity can start to creep in because they haven't drawn upon the peer system in their own writing, and that can lead them to go into circles and feel lost and really confused. Yeah, do drop in if you want to look at more examples. I find it's really the best way to do this is to look at examples from different fields. I'm going to go ahead and take one more from the education field. Let's do math teaching practices, something. Here's something I was looking at with students. Okay, this is kind of a hybrid of computer science. Let's look at this. See if I can get the PDF. And if you're struggling to see the screen, do let me know and I'll zoom in for you. Okay, this looks good. Okay, great. Yeah, this is nice. So, okay. Here we go. So I want to try to jump to, I'm going to zoom in even more here, and it's easier actually if I download the PDF, because then I can work with it a little more. Let me download this to the desktop, and then I can manipulate it and show it to you a little bit better. Okay. Nope, I don't want to open it there. I want to open it with Adobe. Okay, so I've got it. Now I've got it. Okay. So here we go. So here. I want to get it to the side of the screen. So let's look at the paragraph over here. So our topic sentence is right here. So the topic is promising us here is that games, the point that games are supposed to supplement but not replace teachers to help students become more engaged. And then ideally your paragraph is going to give examples and explain that. So this is an example of one that's a little bit unclear. Which you can see, it really doesn't follow the point here. That this next point doesn't follow that perfectly. Which, all right, it is about trying to make your writing very, very clear and easy to understand for others. So it goes a little bit into talking about how they can provide supplemental tasks and challenges around integration, but it doesn't really get to the main point that they're trying to set out of that that the games supplement rather than supplant. So I'd like to see the content here tell me more about how it is that they're supplementing and not actually supplanting. Maybe it is that the teachers are indispensable, and they actually couldn't even supplant, or maybe there's different ways. I'm not an expert on this topic myself, but I would look at separating this out. So this, for me, here is a separate point. And this is an example where it's not going to be a death blow to your writing. Oftentimes people can follow you anyway, but it's harder. And I think if you look at this, if you read this, you're going to find you have to read this several times to understand it. Whereas you go back to some of the other papers we looked at that followed the pier system more closely, you find, wow, I can breeze through this. It's so easy to get through. And so really good writing is also kind of good reading in disguise. So once you kind of be savvy in reading, and actually when you read and you spot, hey, this is really easy to read, really easy to follow, take note of that and try to understand why. Let's look at another one here, impact of this. So, so this is another example that the impact of PD, the impact PD has on teacher implementation has been minimally researched. However, focus group responses suggest that it would be good, and this suggests when to best adapt. So, again, this ends up being a little bit of a harder paragraph to follow. I think I would I think I would set this up and say that I would have set this up, topic sentence up a little bit differently. I said, although there's emerging evidence to suggest PD would be good, but so far little research has been done. And then say something more about, because what you're probably saying here is to say that there's minimal research. So I would instead say your topic sentence is promising to tell us that there's going to be minimal research, and say, well, maybe there's been research on other kinds of math teaching, but not on digital games or all this other stuff. And then say that there have been repeated calls to increase this research from focus groups and others. Now, sometimes papers will have very limited word count, and then they're going to intentionally smush some things together, realizing that they're going to lose some clarity in doing so. But for many of you, especially if you're writing a PhD dissertation or a master's thesis, you have ample space to let your points breathe, and you don't have to sacrifice that clarity to pack things into a very small space. So this one, again, I hope you can see as you go through it that when you set this up, has been minimally researched, you're priming your reader to think, okay, well, give me evidence, back up that point that there's minimal research here, or that the research has been on other things, but not on the digital math games, as in this example. Because these start to go in a different direction. And what does this go back to? This goes back to each paragraph needs to make one point, not several points. And this is starting to make, right, this is a point. And this isn't really, you can see how this is not really linking to that point of the minimal research. And that just creates a lack of clarity. So, look, one thing that I hope you'll take some comfort in is that, this would be, right, Roger Federer is going to go out and critique how lower ranked players are going to play tennis and be able to give them pointers. But they're still professional tennis players, and Roger Federer could go give them pointers. I'm not saying Roger Federer, but I have published a few papers along the road. And papers will still get in print. They'll still get out and still get published, even if they deviate from these basics. But what I want for you is, at least at the very beginning, to master the fundamentals and get the system right, because it's going to help you so much in your writing, help you so much to get clarity about what you're trying to say, especially if the research is complicated and you're doing it for the first time. So I want to go now to some real student examples and show you kind of how some editing has played out that I was doing recently, and I've intentionally anonymized this, and you see a lot of red lines. Don't worry about that. I'm going to take track changes off here. Whoops. So that you can see everything, and I'll be able to zoom this in a lot more. So let me go to the original. What the student still, come on, original. I want no markup. Okay. And now you can see where we're at. So this is an introduction. which is often one of the hardest sections to write. And let's look at this together and see if you can spot what some of the issues are according to the pier system. So if we come down here, so this is the last paragraph of the introduction. And yeah, can you spot what is the issue with this paragraph? And let me zoom in, and I'll give you guys a second to see if you can spot what the issue is. So based on the pier system, what would you say is wrong with this paragraph? Gonna give you guys a second to think about it. There's a couple things wrong. I mean, I'll point out some minor things while you're thinking about it. Like this reference should be at the end of the sentence, among other things. But the big thing that jumps out in terms of the pier system is this is like having a hamburger without the bun. There's no point. If the point was going to be we included these studies, well, there's nothing to back up or explain including these studies. And then we perform a thematic analysis for this review. This is kind of what this seems to be talking about is what the study actually did. So maybe this is missing the point. This is missing the topic sentence. It's missing the button. So that we need to fix that. And so that's an issue for this, and that makes it kind of it's not coherent. There's not a point that the reader can see that brings all this together. And I mean, you could eat a hamburger without a bun, but is it really then a hamburger? And you would ask the same here. Is this really a paragraph? It's not really a paragraph. It's just two pieces of kind of evidence or explanation of what you're going to do in your study lumped together, but not being connected. So to have a topic sentence, say here, imagine like this. So let's see if I can do this original. So what I would put here is I would start this instead. And what would I do? Let's see if I can draw. What I would instead say here is here we performed a systematic review on this. To do so, we evaluated systematically these studies and excluded these, and we evaluated them using a thematic analysis. Now these two sentences come together if we can include that first part. That would make things so much clearer. So let's see if I can. I've already marked this up. What did I do when I marked it up? Let me come back and see how I edited it. Okay, I've edited this quite considerably to get to the gap. So I think I actually ended up taking that out to put it in a different section of the paper. But okay, let's look at some other examples and see if you can see what's going on. Okay, so let's look at this paragraph. Again, try to use the pier system to interpret what the issue is with this paragraph. And let me zoom in. Just I hope that you guys are able to see it. I'm looking across screens here. So yeah, do jump in the text if you see how this is deviating from pier and how this is creating a lack of clarity in the writing. I'll give you guys a second to look over it. Okay, so a lot of the issues are coming again from the topic sentence. This is an example of two paragraphs being mushed together. It has two topic sentences inside of it, and it also has a problem that one of the topic sentences, each of the topic sentences don't really have the evidence and explanation to back them up. So I would say this is a topic sentence. Burnout happens when this. So what is it saying? Burnout happens when educators experience this fatigue related to their work. And this is telling me that you're going to start telling me a lot about what's kind of causing burnout to happen. You're going to go in when and why burnout's going on. That's your point. So you're going to start giving me burnout happens when this is going on. Maybe you'd continue to say, right, that burnout happens when educators experience recurring physical and psychological fatigue related to their work. This is, and now you're going to give evidence and explanation. You're going to say this is not just a consequence of high workload. This is a result of an accumulation of risks that have emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, low personal achievement. For this reason, burnout is not measured by a single concept like workload, but a combination of factors. Something like this. But that meat is missing here. And it gets straight to the kind of, this is how burnout is measured. But that I hope you can see that there's kind of a logic, there's a whole bunch of stuff missing. And sometimes what I find happens with students with the peer system is that you understand everything, and it's all very clear to you. But then when you dump it on a page, it comes out kind of like spaghetti, and the others, your supervisors, your peers, your colleagues, can't understand you and can't understand your brilliance. And so you have to kind of assemble your thoughts in a way that's accessible to others. So that would fix this. Now, this point here, this systematic review aims to plug that gap. Well, this is very confusing because it hasn't said a gap. So this is misplaced. But this is kind of the next, this is a topic sentence. And I think I would have liked to have seen this as a topic sentence to say, well, so to plug this gap, we're going to do a systematic review in the research. By the way, while I've got you here for a moment, I'm just going to take this and see if I can get the original. I don't know if it's going to let me copy the original. I just want to make a side point just on a writing tip while I can. And let's see if I can, maybe I can get this. Let me see if I can reject change, copy, and put it over here. I just want to show you another writing point that comes up. So imagine if we set like this. Okay, there's a couple key principles, writing principles that I just want to cover since we're here. Let me get rid of this comment. Let's just do this. Okay. So this is also a hard sentence to understand. And for many of you who are not English speakers, I recommend that you read aloud your sentences, because many of you, I find, can speak well, but then have trouble writing well. And you'll spot some of the problems just by reading it aloud. So, for example, if we read this systematic review aims to plug that gap in research by highlighting the interplay of personal and professional factors attributing to burnout pertaining to early childhood educators and determinants leading to burnout on personal and professional levels, which prevents educators from being emotionally well-present and responsive young children. That's, first of all, I mean, there's grammatical problems, so you should all get Grammarly. That will help with that. But it's very, very hard to follow. And the reason it's hard to follow is multiple. It's long, but also because the concepts in the sentence are at different points in the sentence. So imagine it's like if you're trying to drive a car in a straight line and you're going in a straight line, but it's like you're kind of going like zigzag back and forth. The people in the car are going to get a headache and get lost and get dizzy and confused. You need to go in a straight line. So how can you start putting related concepts together? Well, I would break this sentence up into two sentences, and this saying this systematic review aims to plug that gap in research. Well, it hasn't clarified the research. So to start trying to fix this, I would actually put in to plug this gap. This systematic review aims to highlight this, and I don't think this is the right word choice here. The interplay of professional and professional factors. And I think you just want to say risks, so you can be more precise and definite in the language. So we're going to move related concepts together. We're going to use better descriptive words when possible to highlight and don't be fancy here. There's no need for something fancy at the end of the highlight. Why don't we just say the role of personal and professional factors and burnout risks among early childhood educators. And this point here, left unaddressed, these risks can prevent, or do you want to say these risks or this burnout? I don't think this is really necessary to your point. So you can actually maybe even take this out. I would actually take this point out. It doesn't fit here. And if you do that, now you've got something that starts to resemble the peer system and starts to be coherent. So we're going to do a systematic review. And now we're going to talk about how maybe the systematic review aims to do this, and we're going to include this stuff. Another point I'd like to make here is I think it's easier to write in active voice. This is active, but I also don't dislike writing in first person. So to plug this gap, I just find for most students, they find it in grads and professors and others I work with, they find it more natural to write in a way that's closer to how they speak. So to plug this gap, here we performed a systematic review to do XXX. That's just a lot simpler to write. And in general, I want you guys to use active voice, right? Active voice is key, and I'm just writing here now, right? You wouldn't say it's so much easier to say, for example, right, the pitcher threw the ball, but so many of you will write, many students, I'm accusing any of you individually, the ball was thrown by the pitcher. And nobody writes nobody talks like that unless you're a robot. And so if you're going to make that sacrifice to clarity, you need to have a reason why. So I've digressed here a little bit because I spotted some things that I thought would be helpful for you to see on the actual writing. So the big flaw here is that this is two topic sentences mushed together, and it's actually, so this is basically, if the paragraph we had before was kind of the lettuce and the tomato and the meat without the bun, this paragraph is just bun. This paragraph is a whole lot of bun with no meat, lettuce, or anything, any of the other good stuff in it. And what I've just shown you is we were able to take this part of the bun in the beer and combine it with this lettuce and meat and make something coherent. And this, we still need to go find the meat, which may be somewhere else. Okay, guys, we've covered a lot in a short period of time. It's deceptively simple peer, but I really want to encourage you to start using it, because when you do, it's going to transform your writing. And to conclude, I want to come back to another paper. Let's go find another paper in the literature using peer. And I want to show you a simple test you can use in your own writing to see if you're effectively getting peer right. And the key to that, I'm going into my Google Scholar profile because I was going to pull up one of my papers. And actually, let me go ahead and do that. Let me pull up something recent. Here we go. Let's see if I can get access to this paper. Right. This is going to be slow loading. It should be open access. Okay. So here we go. PDF. Come on. PDF. Where are you? Okay. So let's go through. Okay. So if you have good writing, you should be able to jump. Do kind of what I call a skip test. You should be able to skip paragraph to paragraph, not read the whole paragraph, and be able to follow the structure of the argument just by reading the first sentence. So here we go. There are widespread concerns that COVID could cause a deterioration in mental health. It's unclear why mental health is worsening. So, yep. And then it's going, yet there is a third untested hypothesis about government announcements of impending lockdown causing this. Could this be happening? And here we aim to plug this gap by testing this hypothesis. So you should be able, by seeing these, to follow the argument, just what's going on your own writing from reading these topic sentences. And just follow right there. So I wanted to encourage you guys to do that. If you can, if your argument is clear and has a good structure to it, you should be able to hop point by point, just like this throughout your paper. And same thing here. We designed a telephone survey. Participants of the survey were randomly recruited and our representative. And now, right, you can see the topic is going to go through and give all that there. We had these outcome measures. To better ascertain causality, we did this. And really, these are the nuts and bolts of your outline. And so there's this real congruity between you having a clear outline that's point by point, 1 point each paragraph for scientific writing, and then the rest of the burger. So yeah, this is pretty straightforward. I actually, for me, I'm not even fully 100% satisfied. I think even looking back at the introduction, it's really important to be critical of your own writing. I actually think my topic sentences that are put in here could be clearer. This you can follow, but I would like to have made this even clearer in the argument by making say it's unclear why mental health is worsening. During COVID, I would have probably linked that back just to make that easier to follow. And then here, this third possibility here, there's a alternative hypothesis. I might have the third kind of jumps out a little bit from the second, but the point is, even so, those are things that you can kind of continue on this writing. You can continually make it clear, continue making it clear, so you'll hit diminishing returns. But that's the aspiration, to keep it really simple and clear. And the point is, in writing that you're going to find that's good and easier to follow, you can do that skip test and go right down one by one through your sentences. I'm going to look at one more example. Let's go into another journal. Let's go to Science, because Science has good editing. It's very, very succinct. So let's see what we've got in the journal Science and the current issue. And guys, drop in the comments. Do you feel like you can apply this? Because it's well and good to watch me going through it. Do you think? Let me know in the comments here. Can you take this back with you at home, in your office, your lab, wherever you are, by yourself, and start using this? Okay, let's go into a commentary. And here we go. This looks like a nice one. Let's go in here. Okay. Oh, shoot. Okay. The DOI and the most recent ones might not be out. We're in Science Immunology. Let's see. We should be able to find an open access one. 2 seconds. Let's see. Don't want an opinion. These are perspectives, and that's probably why. Well, this is fine. We'll go to something here. Here's an editorial. Okay. This is an editorial, but you're still going to get the same kind of... This is actually a really nice illustration here. Let me see if I can zoom. Okay. So let's go through a few examples. Okay, here's a pretty simple example. And whoops, this is a simple example here, right? In his recent book, he's going to, right, he defends this process of weighing evidence, committing to truth. And it's really nice here that it goes through and says, okay, so this paragraph is going to be about this book. And what does he do? It's going to explain the other's point. And that's kind of the evidence here, is that's the meat of the burger. Going to explain it again. And now you've got this linking sentence. This provides, this 3 public goods here. And that then is going to link us right into the next paragraph. All right? Truth is based on what is known so far. It's always provisional. And what does it do? It says truth is always provisional. That's a profound statement. And then it explains it. We'll likely know more tomorrow than today and have to revise, right? It's then going through and explaining this provisional nature of truth. That is the scientific method at work. and then another linking sentence here. Once the system gets facts straight, then this provisional system, once it gets the facts straight, they can work constructively together. Here's another good example. This knowledge certifying system is under attack today. And then goes on to explain. So this is a little bit harder in this one, because as an editorial, it's not really giving the same evidence for this. It's kind of making an assertion. And the topic sentence here is really the knowledge certifying system is under attack in these domains, and restoring confidence is key. So this is a little bit of a funny use of pier, because kind of these two are the topic of the paragraph, and then this starts to explain it, but it doesn't continue to go through using the pier here. That can be okay, but it's, again, I think this would be a lot clearer if I think I would have put it. I think this would have been hard to pack into one sentence. I want to encourage you at the stage that where most of you are, especially if you've been starting through writing, try to put it into one sentence. So how could you have done that here instead? You could have said, right, this knowledge certifying system is under concerted attack today. And so one of the most fundamental challenges for science is to restore confidence in evidence-based messages, and then go through in the paragraph about how to defend public confidence. Some of this other stuff kind of distracts in the topic sentence, because that's not really what the topic sentence is about. Now, this is a short commentary, might not have the space to do that, but I hope you can see, even being very critical here, how when the topic sentence is set up like this, it actually makes the paragraph a little bit harder to follow and pick up very quickly. And again, science is all about you trying to communicate complex information in a simple way, in a very meta way. This whole point, this whole article here is about the importance of communicating evidence importantly, given that the truth is provisional. And good writing is so indispensable for scientists to convince the public, to convince experts, to convince others of the rightness of their views. I think sometimes scientists believe, well, the facts will just speak for themselves, but that treats evidence as occurring in a vacuum, and a vacuum that's free of power, and evidence alone is rarely what was going to tip the balance of a decision, or the weight of public opinion, or weight of scientific opinion, even in one direction. That's where power is inevitably a part of what knowledge gets taken up. I don't want to go as a sociologist here, but yes, this is talking about the challenges of communicating messages about science, and I hope that's a really fantastic note for us to end the session on. I hope this peer system will help you to communicate your science better through your writing, and I hope this has given you the tools to start a process, a long process of steady improvement in your writing, to where one day you'll be at a point to where you'll feel pretty good about critiquing not just others' writing, but also your own writing in a very savvy, critical way. It's not a bad thing to be your own worst critic, but you need to have some framework to criticize yourself with, to understand. And so many students I work with, when I point out that this is not clear, they'll sometimes have a blind spot, and at the very beginning, they can't see how it's not clear because they don't have the tools. They don't have the resources to understand that was what was off. And again, going back to the tennis analogy, if I say, well, right, you didn't hit your forehand in the right way. Well, if you don't have the mechanics of hitting a basic forehand, I can't help you diagnose and say, well, your wrist was in the wrong position, or you didn't rotate or pronate or do something in the right way, because you don't even have the language to really engage. So again, this is a very brief introduction to academic writing, but the peer system is absolutely indispensable. Take home that task of the peer system to skip different paragraphs, try to read your topic sentence, and if your topic sentences are flowing, that the reader can follow each paragraph, you've probably done a good job. It's probably going to be clear to whoever reads it. Then make sure in your paragraphs, you make sure you don't just have lettuce and tomato, and you don't just have bread. Make sure that you deliver. You promise your reader a topic, one point in your paragraph, and you deliver it. You deliver the lettuce, meat, cheese, and good stuff that they want, and then you wrap it with the other end of the bun. And that each paragraph, again, is only one hamburger and not too many smushed together. We saw examples of buns smushed together. We saw examples of just lettuce and tomato. Have a critical look at your paragraphs and see if you're falling into either of those kinds of pitfalls. This is going to help you. I'm glad, several you're saying you got value out of it, that you like the peer approach. That's great to hear. And Emmanuel, I'm glad you found this interesting. And every week, every Friday, with the exception of this one because I'm traveling tomorrow, we have our live grad clinics, and it's your opportunity to get support on your research and for us to cover together some of the most common things that you're struggling with. So we'd love to hear from you. Drop me a line or the assistant in the group, Christine. We're always happy to hear from you, and that's what this open access community is for. So all of you guys have a fantastic rest of the week. Go on into the weekend, and we will reconvene next week. As many of you are watching on the replay, I always come back and answer questions. So anything you want me to pick up on, we'll do. And try to apply peer and let us know how you get on with it. It's really inspiring to the other people in the community and in the group to hear your stories, engaging with our systems. And so see you next Friday. I will look forward to seeing you same place, same time. All right. Bye for now.